What did you think, or what were you told as a kid about the Amos and Andy show?
First of all, this is going to take a while because you have to run down, as a black man, as a black boy, what the thought was in order to get through to the establishment and to gain acceptance. See, in the 40s and the 50s, most black people were trying to gain acceptance. So the idea was to imitate the black. I mean, whatever you want it to be. You want to be a black businessman, so you spoke as the black businessman would speak, and you would dress as he dressed with the three-piece suits, and you would act that way to gain acceptance, you see, and you would talk, so forth and so on, and you wore an Ivy League haircut the same way that he did, and so forth and so on. Well, coming into the late 50s and the 60s and finding out that we're so disillusioned by what is happening, because prejudice and racism, of course, it does not exist in all white people, but there's enough that kicks everybody in the backside so that you know that there are enough people who are against you because you are black, that you become paranoid, which is not an evil word to say, because there are white people who are paranoid, white, Jewish, Irish, or whatever. They're paranoid about who they are and what people are going to say about them. I happen to feel that man himself will always be against somebody. If we all had black skin, brown hair, brown eyes, everybody, everybody included, we'd still be after the dude with the freckle or the bent toe. It would still be somebody we were trying to do that pecking order thing with. I liked Amos and Andy. I did not see them as ignorant blacks. See, but that's a different way that we accept certain things. I mean, there are certain routines that I can tell on a stage which deals with an all-black audience that I would not tell on television. Wouldn't allow it, because there are some white people who would laugh at that and say, yeah, that's them, and that's why they ain't going to get the so forth and so on. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So Amos and Andy had to be taken off, although I enjoyed it. Although in the confines of my own home, we might say, yeah, Brother Andy, we're going to do the so forth and so on. But we don't want the white people laughing at us, because so far, you know, it's just, America has allowed these people who are against us to still exist, you see. Now, we run into busing problems. I can understand every white bigot's problem with busing. I can understand every white person who doesn't want their child to go to all the way across town to that school because they moved away.
Do you have to be a bigot to be against busing?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. But my next step is this. There are enough bigots who use the genuine cat. And we have black people who have bothered to run and hustle and save and move away and get away from the rats in the project and the plaster falling and so forth and so on, which is every man's right to do, to move out of there. And they too are affected by this busing thing, because you may have some middle-class black kids who are now being bused back to where the dude moved out of. You understand?
Yeah,
I'm not saying that these people have a right to. All I'm saying is that there is a solution to this, which the government itself has not made an effort or a step to take care of. So we all, I believe, are at each other's throats because the government has not laid down the laws of this land as far as the Constitution is concerned. We still put up with people like Wallace. We still listen to folks like an Agnew. And I really mean that, the things that he said about... No, wait a minute. I don't want you to clap for any of these things, because these are my thoughts, and I don't want you to take sides. I just want you to think about what I'm saying. For instance, the things that Mr. Agnew has said at times, if you weigh these things, you know what he's saying, and you know why he's popular in certain places. You know that when certain people argue about, well, they're taking over, there's no way that all of the black people can ever really get together as well as all of the white people can get together and go down and kill, so forth and so on. Ain't no way. I think it's the silliest thing in the world for somebody to get riled up because two black men show up with a gun and we're going to kill everybody. That's some kind of fantasy that you've laid out that you know in your heart it ain't going to exist. You tell me and prove to me that black people are violent and that they're going to take over, and I can open up the New York Daily News and show you white people who are killing their daughters, their husbands, their wives, their children, killing each other off. Well, if we put that in the paper and make it black and white, which is where the whole thing happens, it's in the paper. If a black man does something, it says, John Jones, black this, said black, 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 and did the black, black. Now, if a white man does it, it isn't white man Jones, it's just a man. Nondescript, just a regular old raggedy man, went out, killed his two daughters and his wife, and shot himself. Now, if he does that, then everybody seems to just either sympathize with it or let it go out the window. But if a black man does it, then any white bigot can point his finger and say, see that? There they go again. Well, that isn't right. It isn't right. And it isn't right to try and let America go this way, because as a black man who is becoming a school teacher who is aiming to teach not only poor blacks but poor whites as well and treat everybody equally, I mean, I can't bring it upon myself to say, well, because I've suffered, and I'm going to kick this little white kid. And I'm going to step on him. Or somebody's mother comes up and says, Mr. Cosby, I enjoyed your show. Or for me to look at her and say, well, you're trash because I know all of your people. I don't live that way, and I try not to teach my children to live that way. Aha! But they are aware.
Of those feelings.
They are aware of the feelings. They are aware of who they are. But it just isn't racially. So we have to take Amos and Andy off. We have to, at times, look at a Bill Cosby on I Spy from the late things and say, well, this guy doesn't have a girlfriend, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that, so therefore he is as. We have to ask for things that are black on TV because there are things that we don't see, you see. Now, in New York, it's much hipper than most places. You know, you can turn that dial quite a bit, man, on the cable TV and see quite a few black things going on. Sure, they're on at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning or whatever. So what? Anyway, it is there, and it's moving a step higher. But by the same token, you can't really be white either. You sitting here, you can't really be white. You know, you're not really yourself.
When we come back, because we've gone beyond this station message, tell me what you mean by that. We'll be right back.